When I think back to that night, I wish I had stayed quiet. It was meant to be a simple celebration. Ethan's 32nd birthday, just the two of us at our favorite little restaurant downtown. He'd told me all week that he didn't want anything extravagant. Just us, he said. I thought a quiet dinner with a small surprise dessert would make him happy. The place was warm, candlelight flickering off polished glasses, a soft melody playing in the background. He looked so calm that evening. Black shirt, sleeves rolled, that peaceful smile I always trusted. He just shared that he got a promotion, and I was genuinely proud of him. Maybe that comfort made me careless. Somewhere between the second glass of wine and dessert, I said it. He was telling a funny story about a coworker who flirted too much. And without thinking, I laughed and said, maybe I should flirt a little too, just to even things out. It was meant to be teasing. But the moment I said it, his smile faltered. Why would you say that? He asked quietly. I waved it off, still half laughing. It's a joke, Ethan. Don't be so serious. But he didn't laugh. He just stared at me, really stared, and something in his eyes changed. The silence between us stretched until it felt heavier than any argument could. When the waitress brought out the small cake with a candle, I tried to brush it off, to laugh again, but he barely touched it. On the drive home, the quiet wasn't angry, it was detached, distant, like he'd already drifted somewhere I couldn't follow. Back home, he loosened his tie and sat on the edge of the bed. I lingered by the doorway, waiting for him to say I was overreacting. Instead, he asked softly, do you really think that's funny, pretending you cheat? The room felt colder than before. I told him again it was just a joke, that I'd never do that to him. He looked down for a moment and said, you know what's strange? I've never joked about losing you. I didn't know how to answer. He stood, opened the closet, and began folding shirts into his duffel bag. Ethan, what are you doing? I asked, my chest tightening. He didn't look at me. You've been distant lately. You laugh when I talk about the future, and now you joke about cheating. Maybe it's nothing to you, but it tells me something I can't ignore. I tried to reach for him, but he stepped away. It was just a joke, I pleaded, voice cracking. You're blowing this up. He zipped the bag slowly, then met my eyes. Maybe I am, but even jokes come from somewhere real. Then he left. I didn't stop him. I told myself he just needed space, that he'd come home tomorrow. But tomorrow became a week, and then silence. His key appeared on the counter beside the half-melted candle from that night. At first, I was furious. How could he throw away everything over a single stupid sentence? But anger didn't last. It turned into fear and then regret. The longer he stayed gone, the clearer it became that it wasn't about the joke. It was about everything I hadn't said, every distance I'd ignored. My calls went unanswered. My messages were left on read. Friends told me he was fine, quiet, focused on work. Not angry, just done. It's strange how guilt works. It peels you open layer by layer. I told myself he overreacted, but deep down, I knew that joke hadn't come from nowhere. I'd said it because something inside me wanted to test him, to see if he'd still care. He did, just not in the way I expected. 2 weeks later, I went to his apartment. His car was outside, lights on. My heart pounded as I knocked. When he opened the door, he looked rested, calm, almost peaceful, but not the man I remembered. Sarah, he said quietly, as if tasting the word. I just want to talk, I whispered. He nodded and stepped aside. The apartment was spotless. No photos of us, no trace of what we'd been. I'm sorry. I began. It was a stupid thing to say. I wasn't thinking. He studied me for a moment, then nodded. I know you didn't mean it literally, but you meant it emotionally. I frowned. What does that even mean? It means, he said gently, you said it because you wanted to hurt me a little. You wanted to see if I'd flinch. That's what people do when they've stopped feeling safe in love. I looked down, my chest tight. He was right. I was just trying to be funny, I whispered. He gave a faint, sad smile. No, you were trying to be distant. There's a difference. We sat in silence for a long time, the clock ticking too loudly between us. Finally, I asked, can we fix this? He shook his head slowly. You don't have to cheat to break trust. You just have to make a joke out of love. Tears blurred my eyes. I didn't mean to hurt you. I know, he said softly, but not meaning to doesn't make it hurt less. He stood, walked to the door, and waited. I knew it was over. Before leaving, I turned and asked, "Do you ever think about us?" "Every day," he said, "but I also think about peace. And for the first time in a long time, I have that." Outside, the air was sharp and cold. I remember thinking how cruelly honest the world felt, how even laughter can wound when it comes from the wrong place. Weeks passed. I stopped checking my phone every hour. Friends told me to move on, to stop dwelling on something that was just a misunderstanding. But regret doesn't work on anyone's timeline. It lingers until you learn its lesson. On his next birthday, I didn't call. I didn't send a message. I just lit a candle at my kitchen table, whispered a quiet, "Happy birthday," and hoped he was somewhere smiling, maybe even laughing again, because I finally understood something simple and hard. Love doesn't always die from betrayal or lies. Sometimes it ends in a single careless moment, a thoughtless joke, and the silence that follows when someone decides they deserve to be taken seriously.